You ever posted a photo on social media and someone asked you, what kind of camera is that? Wow, that photo is beautiful. What lens did you use? What is your camera setup? Well, if you hate those kind of questions, I made you something that you will need to get for yourself. Behold for Anti-Camera Lens Setups Question Club. We don't want these kind of questions, right? Get yourself one. Link in the description below. So you might wonder what I'm doing here in the middle of nowhere in the dark, which I need to have a source of light to light me up. Tonight I'm going to teach you guys how to take a photo with light painting. It's fairly easy if you learn the tricks. You can do it really easy. There's a lot of flies around here, but let's get started. Well, now we are in the studio and I'm gonna continue talking about light painting here in the studio because I try to record more out there. But every time I try to record and use a source of light to light myself up, there was actually a lot of bugs and flies out there, and they basically kind of killed me. By the way, I think this is a little bright. Let me just change to this new merge coming out soon. Ready? 3, 2, 1. That was easy. Well, it's better, and let's get to it. The concept of light painting is actually within its name. You basically take a source of light and paint your car with that source of light. As you can see in this photo, I used the same method to take a photo at night. And light painting is mainly a creative way to take photos at night or in a dark atmosphere. For doing light painting, you will need a couple of equipments, and you will have to put your camera in certain settings, which I will go over all of them with you guys one by one. First equipment on our list is having a tripod. That's because you want to secure your camera as much as you can, since you will be shooting in a lower shutter speed and you're basically doing a long exposure photo. You can have something like a Gorilla Jolly Pod or a cheap tripod. I've had this for 12 years now, so any tripod or any sort of securing your camera down will work. You just have to make sure that there will be no shakes or any movements between your shots. Next, you will need a source of light. Yes, you can use a flashlight on your phone or any other flashlights. Also, you could use something like this. It's basically one of those lights that hangs under the cabinet and lights your countertop up like this. Or you could have a LED light just like what you see here, and all of these will work. They will all light up your subject, which is the vehicle, and all will work. For example, in this photo, I used the LED light that you saw a couple seconds ago to light up the whole body of the car, and I used my phone's flashlight to light up the wheels on the vehicle. Now that you know what kind of equipment you will need to use in order to achieve a photo like this, let's get to the settings. In order to get the best shot you can, you would want to use a camera that has a manual mode in it. This could be again your phone, because nowadays some phones come with the full manual mode, or any other cameras could be a full frame, a crop sensor, but you will have to put your camera in the manual mode. And after you put your camera in manual mode, you will have to change a couple settings. That will be your shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. Let me start with ISO first. The ISO needs to be the lowest you can. Since you're taking a long exposure photo, your sensor will be exposed more than a couple seconds, and if you have a higher ISO, that will bring a lot of noises to your photo. So you would always want to have your ISO the lowest you can go. It could be ISO 100, or even if you can go lower, I would recommend to do so. After you set your ISO, you want to set your shutter speed. As I said, this will be a long exposure photo, and long exposure photos will be taken with the lowest shutter speed you can. You could go all the way down to 20 seconds or 30 seconds of shutter speed depending on how much light you have in the scene. You could also use a remote control to basically use your bulb mode, and I will go over why you might want to use a bulb mode in a second. So now that you know your ISO and shutter speed, you would like to set your aperture. The lower the aperture is, basically bringing more light to your sensor. If you don't know what aperture is, it's basically a ring with blades inside of your lens which let light through your lens into your sensor. The higher the aperture is, the closer that rings become, and the lower the aperture is more light getting to your sensor. That means the rings and the blades inside of your lens are in the most open position possible. And also when you have a lower aperture, the depth of field is shallower. That means that if you take a photo and focus on a subject, the depth of field or the area that is in focus is much less than shooting a photo with higher aperture. So you would want to consider using a higher aperture, for example a f8 or f10 or higher, in order to get your whole subject in focus. Again, as I said, a light painting is performed in a dark environment, so focusing and having a point on focus is a little bit harder. Using a higher aperture will make it more flexible for you to focus right on the subject and have a spot on focus. However, to choose the right aperture, you have to be in the location to see how dark your environment actually is. If there is, for example, a street light that brightening up your subject, you would want to go to a higher aperture, for example f16, because you would want to eliminate the light that bounces off of the surface that's been made by the street light. Or if you are in a totally dark or a blackout environment, it's okay to use f10 or lower, but again it depends on how much light you will be painting on the car and how accurate your focus actually is. Now that we know what kind of equipment we need to use to perform light painting and the settings that will give you the best results, let's jump into actually performing the light painting. Imagine we are in the location already and this is a totally dark and blacked out environment. You have your subject or your vehicle, and you would want to first focus on one part of the vehicle, and with that you can always use manual focus because you don't want to change the focus with each photo, and that becomes harder. So what you need to do is light up a part of the car first. Just lay down your flashlight or your LED light next to your tire, focus on the tire. After you know that your focus is on point, you would want to set your camera on a timer mode or a delayed photo mode. You could use a 5 seconds to 10 seconds depending on how fast you will reach to your subject if you're not using a remote control. For example, the camera I use has a 10 seconds timer, and it will shoot 3 photos after the 10 seconds, which comes in handy. After you set your timer and have everything set up, first photo needs to be a blank photo. So you're taking that first photo for 2 reasons. One is that you would want to see how bright that photo turns out since you're taking a long exposure, and secondly, that will be your base photo. And that's because when you perform light painting, you might expose your sensor to unwanted light. For example, if it bounces off your shirt, or you try to turn your light off and it catches it at the corner of the shot, you can go to the Photoshop and use that base file to remove the areas that you didn't want to have in the photo. So after having your base photo, you would want to take another test shot and use your source of light. When you do that, set your camera up, use your timer, and when the timer is done, go ahead and light up your car with your source of light to see how much light is being taken by your sensor in the settings you have. If it's a little dark, go ahead and bring your aperture a little bit lower. If it's too bright, go ahead and add a couple of stops to your aperture and try it again. Just to let you know, when you do a light painting, whatever is being lit up by your source of light is going to be shown in the photo. This can be the surface of the car, or for example, if you light yourself up for more than a couple of seconds, the camera actually going to pick it up. But if you just try to do the light painting, as you can see in this video, I move pretty fast, camera will not pick it up and you will not be in the shot. As you already saw in the previous clip, I'm holding the source of light and walking in front of the car and basically painting the surface I need to paint with that source of light. In this video, that surface is the side of the car, and I move to the front of the car and I light up the front of the car as well. This has all been taken in one single shot, and that shot is 30 seconds long. You can do these in different shots and do one side first, and for example do the front next, and do a base photo and do exposure stacking later on in Photoshop. But if you can fit everything in the preset you have, for example that 30 seconds, you can as well perform the whole light painting in one shot. Do you remember when I told you you will need to use a remote control on the bulb mode? That comes in handy when you can't really take one photo with just 30 seconds. So you have to basically use the bulb mode and have your shutter open so the sensor gets exposed to the light that you're painting on the surface of the car, as long as you will need that to be if you want to take a photo in one shot. Comment down below if you don't know what exposure stacking is, or how to basically make 3 photos into one photo just like this photo. I will make a video and explain it to you guys how it works, and basically do a little tutorial if I get enough comments. So make sure to comment down below if you need to learn it. Well, now that you saw a couple videos of me doing the light painting in the location, let me just give you a couple of ways to get better photos. Imagine this is your vehicle and this is basically a dark environment. What you want to do is that after having your camera in the timer mode and you're getting ready to perform the light painting, you would want to get in position and start from one side of the car. For example, it's already been set and you have the photo being already taken. So what you need to do is to basically turn your light on and paint from one side to another, one side to another. And after that, just move out of the frame and you won't get any extra lights in your frame. Since this is a small car and this source of light is bigger than your car, what you need to do is when you are in the location and have the real car and real subject using something like this, you would want to start from one side and basically do up and down motion. And as you can see, this motion looks like you painting the car with the light, and you have to keep doing this until you've covered the full length of the car. So when you did this, go ahead and check your photo to see if you need to actually redo what you did. If something is wrong, change your setting, and that's usually changing your aperture, bring it down if it's too dark, or add a couple stops to your aperture if it's too bright, and with that you will achieve a photo like this one or what you can see on the screen. The photos you've already seen is taken by a bigger source of LED light, but since I already mentioned that you can use your phone's flashlight to do light painting, let me just show you an example when I use my flashlight. Well, the problem is this shot is kind of darker, but I could have taken a couple exposures and stacked them later on Photoshop, but since there was a lot of bugs and flies out there and I already had a lot of bites on my skin, so I decided to just like wrap everything up sooner and take a couple photos and leave the area. But yeah, as you can see, you can use your phone's flashlight as well, or you can use something like this. As you can see in this photo, I used the same thing. So what I did to this light was putting a cardboard behind it, and that illuminated all the lights that bouncing off of the sides of this light, and I could achieve a similar photo as I took that photo with a bigger source of LED light or something, as you saw in the previous photos. Well, that's it. That's how you do light painting. If you have any questions, make sure to comment down below or reach me out on Instagram. I'll link my Instagram down below. Hit me up, ask me the questions if you have, or if you go on the set and trying to do a light painting and you run into a problem, hit me up on Instagram, send me a DM, and I'll make sure to reply. Get out there, shoot more, and be creative with it. As I said, light painting is basically a creative way to take photos at night. You could do stuff like this, play with the light and use different colors, give some oomph to your photos, and just enjoy doing it. Thank you for watching again. Give me that thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. I would really appreciate it. And turn your notification bell on so you will not miss any of the videos coming out. And with that being said, this video is officially over, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.